Hello and good evening, Chicago. Happy Thanksgiving. Boy, the Bears sure made things interesting over the last couple of days, haven't they? We have got a lot to be breaking down there about the Bears. You have found your way back to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Yeah, we've got a lot to talk about. Is Nagy gone? Is he gone tomorrow, Friday, the end of the season? Does he know? Do the Bears know? Do the players know? What's going on up at Halas Hall? We will talk about that. Plus, the Bulls are wrapping things up down in Houston against the Rockets tonight. We will catch up on that game as it concludes and get you some final stats and thoughts from that. Loyola's men's team played Michigan State earlier today, made a nice showing for themselves. The Ramblers unfortunately took the loss, their first loss on the young season, but it was still an impressive showing all the way around. And then we need to talk about the Red Stars, the National Women's Soccer League team in town, for a few different reasons. We will get into that, plus more. This is Chi-Town Weekly. Everybody buckle on up. Let's have some fun. And welcome on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am Adam Karnick. I am your host. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. A lot to get into. The Bulls game is wrapping up here soon. They have about 6 minutes and change left to go in that one, so we will get you to that once it is done. We will have some follow-up and some wrap-up from that game. Currently not looking good for the Bulls. Hopefully they can turn things around. We will also be talking about the Loyola Ramblers men's team. They had a nice showing for themselves this afternoon in a loss, but still a good showing all around. But before we go any further, we have got to talk about just what in the hell is going on at Halas Hall with the Bears. This has been such a strange, tumultuous cluster of mismanagement and crisis PR that we've seen in a while from the Bears. It may not necessarily be the worst we've ever seen from them, and we'll get into that a little bit too, but it's certainly, we thought some of these days were done. All right, and then before we get any further, of course, let's acknowledge our sponsors for the week. The Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed, to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. Go find them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors or Instagram at Southern California _Warriors, or find them on Facebook, Southern California Warriors. Background Check International. Businesses. Are you looking to background check a new hire on? Let Kit Fremen take care of that for you. Kit founded and has managed Background Check International since 1994, and he's here to help you with the screening process. Contact Kit and let him help make the hiring process that much easier. This business is used for professional background checks and not for the use of any crimes, such as identity theft or any other illegal activity. Go to their website, bcint.com, or find them on Facebook, Background Check International-BCI. For the last 7.5 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, we are ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you shout-outs on all 27 of our shows, and show 28 is already in the works. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, which is starting up next week, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. And this show is available on Twitter as well. Find us at IESRC on Twitter. And if you want, you can follow along with my personal Twitter feed. I am at Adam_Karnick. And if you are listening live tonight on Spreaker, hop on into the chat room. There you will find Taryn Rodriguez is already there. Good evening, Taryn. We interact that way. Or if you're listening later on as a podcast, whether it's on Spreaker or iHeartRadio or any of the other platforms available out there to you, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. Okay. Whew. So to get everybody caught up with the Bears, of course, the loss on Sunday to the Ravens, ugly, bad, shouldn't have happened. You felt like everything was lining up for the Bears to win that game. Lamar Jackson is out. The Ravens' top wide receiver is out. They come in with arguably the worst pass defense in the NFL. Justin Fields had arguably his best game right before the bye against the Steelers. Things are looking up. And then the game happens. The Bears fail to get on the board in the first half. Justin Fields gets hurt in the second half. Andy Dalton comes in, managed to throw a touchdown pass right out of the gate. A screen pass to Darnell Mooney, who then 60 yards later, he's off to pay dirt. Somehow the Bears are in the lead. They give the lead right back. Andy Dalton, then somehow the Bears regain the lead, only to turn around and lose it with 20 seconds to go in the game. As the Bears are leaving, the chants of "Fire Nagy" echo throughout Soldier Field, and it just kept getting worse from there. The Bears have never gotten rid of a head coach mid-season. 101-year history of the team, they've never done it. Then the bombshell drops yesterday morning. It's just before 10 o'clock. A report comes out from Patch.com, which I had never heard of Patch.com, but I was listening on the radio as I was going into work, and it wasn't so much Patch.com as it was the reporter attached to the account, to the article, Mark Constell, who used to write for the Chicago Sun-Times. He's won a Pulitzer. He's an accomplished reporter. Released a report saying that tomorrow's game, which we're now about 14 hours away from kickoff now as we're on the air tonight, this game against the Lions will be Nagy's last. And that Nagy's already been informed of this, but the team has decided, since it's such a short week, to let him ride it out. I've never heard of this happening in the NFL where you tell a coach, we're going to fire you, but would you mind sticking around for one more game? It's so ridiculous sounding. It's just such a great way to set up your team for a loss. Because now you've got a head coach who's not engaged, who knows that he's done. He's got nothing left to prove with this team. There's nothing he can do to save his job. But he's got to go out there and face the music and try to put something together so that hopefully he can get the next job down the road. Just fire the guy. Just move on. Now, the report has since been refuted. That's all that was going on yesterday at Halas Hall. It's all anybody obviously wanted to talk about. You had reports, too, that upwards of 40 of the 53 players on the roster have completely given up on Nagy, that he's lost that many players in the locker room. That report was coming from Jordan Schultz, who does an NBA podcast with Allen Robinson, the Bears wide receiver. Robinson had to field questions about that, and he was pretty adamant in saying that did not come from me. I did not tell Jordan that. We've had a conversation about that even. And you had Jalen Johnson, when asked about it, basically saying all they're getting in the locker room now from Coach Nagy are rah-rah type speeches. And he said, look, we're in a 5-game losing streak. We don't need rah-rah speeches. We need answers. We need solutions. We need to stop losing football games. All this is going on, and the team sends Chris Tabor out there, who, if you remember, he was who acted as the head coach while Nagy was out with COVID a few weeks ago. So you would think Tabor would be the guy that, if indeed Nagy's getting cut loose, Tabor would be the guy who would get placed in charge on an interim basis. They send Tabor out there to face the wolves, to face the media. And he's got to refute a report that he said he hasn't even seen yet. Why do the Bears have to make this so hard on themselves? Why? If you were to ask me, does it make sense to keep a guy that you've already decided you're going to fire just because he's a nice guy? I'd say in the context of a professional football team, that's ridiculous. You don't do that. At the same time, if you were to ask me, would the McCaskies do this? I'd say yes. I can absolutely see the McCaskies thinking that this was a good idea, that, well, Nagy's such a nice guy. It's such a short week. let's keep him here. We'll just keep everything under wraps that we've already decided to fire him. And we've already told him we're going to fire him. But everything will be fine. I could see the McCaskies being that naive. Just that insular, thinking this will never leave this room. We're in complete control of this situation. They finally... So you had all these players and coaches yesterday coming before the media. Ryan Pace didn't speak to the media yesterday. Ted Phillips didn't. George McCaskey didn't. Nobody above Nagy came out yesterday and addressed the report. Finally, today we found out that McCaskey addressed the team and said, no, this isn't happening. We're not getting rid of him yet. Never mind that Nagy then, after meeting with the media yesterday, had a sit down with the McCaskies and Pace and Phillips, and afterwards canceled practice with the team. Again, just all these signs are pointing to Nagy's a dead man walking. He's a lame duck head coach. I've said this a lot on this show about the Bears. I'm going to continue to say it. This isn't 1985 anymore. You have to grow as an organization. There's a reason you haven't won a championship in 40 years, and it's because of crap like this. Somebody there at Halas Hall needs to figure out no other good sports teams, organizations, or businesses operate like this. This is gross incompetence at every level. It makes no sense, yet it makes perfect sense. We've seen this before with this organization. It wasn't just that long ago, 4 years ago, that you had Mark Trestman in here coaching the team when he had completely lost the locker room and was visibly at odds with his general manager, just trying to look like, I'm the guy you should keep. And in the end, both Phil Emery and Mark Trestman got axed. We've seen this with the hiring of John Fox. In that situation where you were giving a guy a golden parachute and nobody realized it or recognized it. Heck, we've seen this back when they finally decided to replace Dave Wanstead. This goes back all the way to the 90s, this kind of incompetence where they had identified the guy they wanted to be the head coach. The guy they identified genuinely wanted to be the coach of the Bears. They had both decided, yes, this is what we're going to do. This is the way we're going to move forward. And yet, it didn't happen. Why? Because the Bears are incompetent. I don't want to rag on the McCaskies because at the end of the day, it's a family business. It is a family business for them. And they're not football people. The problem is seemingly they just don't care. It's we're the Bears, we're an NFL team, the NFL brand is huge. Bears fans are everywhere. They're going to keep coming to the games. They're going to keep talking about us. They're going to continue to buy our merchandise, etc., etc., etc. We don't need to change the status quo. Newsflash, you need to change the status quo. Since the McCaskies have taken over and really began to put their stamp on the team, I need to put that caveat in there because technically they took over in time for the 85 season to happen. However, that was still Papa Bear George Halas that had effectively organized the team at that point. Ed McCaskey hadn't really had a chance to start putting his stamp on the team. They've been to one Super Bowl. They keep mowing through head coaches who ultimately don't get the job done. And they keep having these embarrassing moments happen. You've got Nagy. You've got fans at Soldier Field chanting "Fire Nagy." You've got fans at the Bulls game Monday night chanting "Fire Nagy." Now that was in part because the Bulls were getting blown out, but still, everybody can recognize that Nagy's done. Put him out of his misery. Fire him. Move on. Put whoever you want in charge. You don't want it to be Chris Tabor? Fine. You're giving Mike Pettin a check for being in the building every week. Put him in charge. Have it be Sean Desai. Have it be Bill Lazor. I don't care. The point is, this isn't working, and everybody knows it. Heading into this game in Detroit tomorrow, if I'm the Lions, I'm licking my chops. We've heard that Jared Goff is expected to start tomorrow. We know that Andy Dalton's going to start tomorrow for the Bears. Justin Fields is out. If this game were being played on Sunday, I think Fields might start. Since it's on Thursday, they'll go with Dalton. Akeem Hicks is out. Justin Fields is out. Allen Robinson is doubtful. Matt Nagy might get fired the second the game is over. If I'm the Lions, I'm licking my chops. I cannot wait to play this game. The Bears should win based on the talent on the two teams. The problem is this is such a gigantic disaster of a situation for the Bears heading into this game. I don't know how on earth they're going to be able to go out there and be focused enough to actually play a game tomorrow. I still expect the Bears to win just because they're more talented. And that's got to count for something. Taryn chimes in the chat. I feel I should not start the Bears defense tomorrow. No. The Bears defense is a shell of its former self. Khalil Mack's done for the year. Akeem Hicks is out. They have no secondary at all. Just none. Outside of Jalen Johnson. I would not be starting the Bears defense. I would figure something out. I mean, you still have Robert Quinn making plays. You still have Roquan Smith absolutely balling out. But at the end of the day, it's not a good defense anymore. I wish we could talk about just the problems on the field. That's what I was planning to talk about, were the problems on the field, both with Nagy and with the team. But the way just the last couple days have gone, it's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous with this team. And they can't figure it out. Nagy's got to be gone. I would get rid of him today. I'd have no problems with getting rid of him right now. You want to wait till after Thanksgiving? Fine. Wait till after the game. Fire him. Get rid of him. You know you're done with him. He knows he's done. The players know he's done. Put everybody out of their misery. Fire him. Move on from him. As for Ryan Pace, thank you for drafting Roquan Smith and Justin Fields and getting nice pieces in the lower rounds of the draft. You failed the first 2 times you've brought in a head coach. You don't get to pick a third head coach then. I would move on from Ryan Pace as well. Bring in a new general manager, bring in a new head coach. I'd love to see them create a president of football operations type position. That way Ted Phillips can focus on what he does best, which is the money, which is the business side of things. Get him out of football operations and football decisions because he's not good at it. This organization needs its Theo Epstein, needs its Arturas Karnisovitz, needs its Kenny Williams. And they don't have it. That's what you've got to get. Whatever order you want to get them in, fine. But this thing is over. Everybody knows it's over. You're just playing out the stretch, and the longer you keep Nagy involved, the worse it's going to get. All right, we need to take a break. On the flip side of that, the Bulls game, if it is not done, it is just wrapping up, so we will break down the Bulls game down in Houston, and we will also talk some college hoops. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Back after this.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with a list of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the college, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there.
Hey, what's up, sports fans? You're looking for a different type of sports talk show, something you haven't heard before? You gotta check out the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday on 2 Live Stews Radio, 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Sports talk at its finest. Always have great guests, playing some good hip-hop. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in to the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Hey USRN fans, do you have a product or company you're trying to promote? Look no further. USRN is teaming up with small local businesses trying to establish themselves via online promotion. Let us know if you're interested. Email us at usrnradio@gmail.com to learn more.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Lava.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Harrison Glazer, and we're coming at you from the Show That Never Sleeps podcast. I cover the Jets, the Islanders, the Nets, and the Yankees.
This is Pierre Moss, and I cover the Mets, Knicks, Rangers, and the Giants.
Our show is live every Wednesday through Spreaker and a bunch of other ways to get our content. Again, we're the Show That Never Sleeps podcast. We talk about all those New York sports. It's a lot of fun. We get into all of it. Please tune in. Again, that's Wednesdays at 6 p.m.
And we look forward to having you guys right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. Talked a lot of Bears there in that first segment. There was another report that came out today that was made official, and then there were others who reminded us that we'd actually knew this already. But if it were up to Nagy, Justin Fields would have gone back to being the backup once Andy Dalton was healthy. It took George McCaskey stepping in and telling him, no, you need to stay with Justin Fields for him to officially make the move. And that ultimately, and that's the problem with Matt Nagy. He never understood, he never got that once they drafted Justin Fields, was the only player that mattered about this season. That drafting him, it then became, is he the guy? Nagy was never on board with that. He still wanted to try and win this season. The Bears weren't going to win this season. I saw it put out there that, oh boy, had Andy Dalton played every game so far this season, the Bears would be 5-5 or maybe even 6-4. Where are you coming up with these 3 wins? Okay, let's look at this 5-game losing streak, shall we? Or let's back it up. Let's include the Cleveland loss in there too, the first start that Justin Fields had. Okay, so we'll start there. Since Justin Fields took over as the starter, the Bears are 2-6 as a club. So of those 6 losses, you got blown out in Cleveland. Andy Dalton's not winning you that game. Maybe it looks a little better, but Andy Dalton's not going into Cleveland on that day and outperforming Myles Garrett and keeping things alive. The Bears got absolutely killed in that game. Then come home, they beat the Lions, went on the road to Vegas, upset the Raiders. We later learned, it's because there were major distractions. Gee, that sounds familiar for tomorrow. Then you start the 5-game losing streak. Of those 5 games, and now I've forgotten what the first one was even. They just all start running together in my head after a minute. So let me pull up the schedule here real fast so we can get into each of the 5 losses. Okay, hosting the Packers. No. Andy Dalton's not outdueling Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. Justin Fields wasn't great in that game. The defense let him down. Andy Dalton's not going to outduel Aaron Rodgers. Then they went to Tampa Bay and got absolutely destroyed. They're not winning that game, regardless of who's quarterbacking. Then they came home against the 49ers. Justin Fields was the best player on the field that day, certainly for the Bears, arguably for either side. Again, the defense couldn't stop anything. They didn't force a punt all game. I don't see Andy Dalton winning you that one. Then they go on the road to the Steelers. Again, Justin Fields was outstanding. He gave the Bears the lead with under 2 minutes to go, and they still lost. I don't see Andy Dalton getting any better results in that one either. And then against the Ravens, Dalton did come in, and they still lost because the defense couldn't stop anything. So don't give me this BS of, if they weren't starting a rookie quarterback, they'd be 6-4. Pardon my French, bullshit. They'd be 3-7 just like they are now. Why? Because Nagy can't see more than one play in front of him. All he sees is literally the play that's happening in front of him. He can't adjust anything. He can't move anything or slide anything around or know what to do unless the play that's running in front of him gets executed perfectly. That's the problem. I mentioned all the Fire Nagy chants. There was more Fire Nagy chants tonight at AEW Wrestling in Chicago. They were chanting Fire Nagy, Fire Nagy. They've got to move on from him. They can't keep this up. Now, Taryn brought up in the chat there was one other spot where Fire Nagy got chanted that was inappropriate. That was at a high school football game. Specifically, Matt Nagy's son, who played in the game, the other schools started chanting Fire Nagy with Matt Nagy in attendance in the crowd. That is out of line. That's inappropriate. You don't You do it at a Bears game. Do it at a Bulls game. Do it at an AEW wrestling event. That's fine. Don't go to his son's high school and start chanting "Fire Nagy" at his son. That's inappropriate. That's over the line. All right, I promised I was going to talk about the Bulls. The Bears have just got me mad. I'm sorry. And the Bulls didn't help because the Bulls lost to the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets came in 1-16 on the season. They were also a mess, having some dysfunction inside their own organization. The Bulls went down. Nicholas Vucevic was back tonight. DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine. They basically, short of Patrick Williams, who they know they're not getting back, even Alex Caruso was back. They were back tonight. Yet they still figured out a way to lose this one. They were up early in the game, lost the lead with about 2 minutes to go in the third quarter, and never got it back. They did manage to tie it in the third quarter at 82, but then from there, Houston led pretty much throughout. The Bulls got within one late, 102-101, when Zach LaVine made a free throw, missed the second one. The Bulls were never able to get back in the lead. That's a frustrating loss. That's a rough one. That's one you can't have. It'll be very interesting to see what Billy Donovan has to say about this one tonight. Looking at the box score, Zach LaVine, 28 points, 11 of 22 shooting, just 3 of 9 from behind three. Lonzo Ball, though, more than made up for that. He was 5 of 7 from three-point land, 7 of 11 overall. DeMar DeRozan, 17 points. Caruso off the bench, 15 points on 6 of 10 shooting. We'll see. Let me get some more stats here. Caruso, 3 more steals for him. You had Ayo Dosunmu come in, get just a monster dunk in the first half, finished with 8 points for the game. Vucevic in his first game back, 14 points scored, finished with a total of 13 rebounds. This is one the Bulls should have won easily, but they dropped one to the Rockets. For the Rockets, their leading scorer tonight was Daniel House Jr. with 18 points tonight on 6 of 7 shooting, including 4 of 4 from three-point land. As a team, the Bulls were 15 of 35 from 3, so that's respectable. You'll take that. They got a rebounded 46-40. Boy, 22 turnovers by Houston, and the Bulls couldn't win this one. That's a rough loss for the Bulls tonight. So not a good night for Chicago sports. Just having a rough week for Chicago sports overall. All right, we're going to take one more break, and then when we come back, we've got some college basketball to talk about and some women's soccer to get through real quickly. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, with you here for just a few more minutes. Back after this.
What's up, sports fans? Are you looking for the latest on Northern California sports? Then take a trip out west with me, your host, Gina G, on Reppin' the NorCal Sports, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'll be bringing it to you all the way live every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And it's always a packed show. I'll bring you everything Dynastic 49ers, the bite of the San Jose Sharks, torture of the San Francisco Giants, the Golden State Warriors that we still believe. Then take you across the bay to the rise and grind of the Oakland A's. I've got you covered on college ball from the Cal Bears to the Stanford Cardinal, so that no matter what, reppin' a NorCal sports is always reppin' the Bay. So if you bleed red and gold, or you're looking to keep an eye out west in them thar hills, don't miss me, Gina G, on reppin' a NorCal sports. Catch me every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and I'll have your fandom repped harder than a trio of defenders guarding Stephen Curry before his buzzer beater is Gucci.
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
Everybody, this is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. We are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly, here for one more segment with you tonight before we turn things over to Marcus Losgreat and gloves off. Before we get out of tonight, wanted to bring up a story of the Red Stars, the National Women's Soccer League. The Red Stars participated in the championship match this past weekend, ultimately losing 2-1 to the Washington Spirit. It was the third year in a row that the Red Stars made it to the final match of the season, the championship match this season and in 2019, and then in 2020, due to the pandemic, it was a different setup that they went with, but ultimately the Red Stars still made it into the final match of the season, but still no championships in there. After the game, Coach Rory Dames stepped down from being the coach of the Red Stars, citing that he wanted to spend more time with his family and that he had basically done what he could for the team. Then a day later, there were reports out that Coach Dames, he's been accused of emotionally and verbally abusing players. Dames, for what it's worth, he is the 9th coach to leave this season from the NWSL, and there are only 10 teams. So there's obviously a lot going on with this league. There's also other investigations that are going on with the league. There was a quote to the Washington Post about Dames from back in 2018, stating that Rory is emotionally abusive to players. Quote, he doesn't have a safe distance between himself and his players. He uses his power and status as the coach to manipulate players and get close to them. So, an odd situation brewing there with the Red Stars going on there. It doesn't help, too, that Dames, of course, was a male coach in a female league, in a women's league, so that makes any abuse even worse at that point. I didn't want tonight's show to be all negative, though. I really wasn't expecting that the Bulls were going to be negative. So we'll end with a tidbit on Loyola. The Ramblers lost earlier today. Again, just not a good day overall for sports in Chicago. But this was still as positive as a loss as you could have. Loyola lost to Michigan State 63-61. The Ramblers are now 4-1 on the season. The Ramblers were taking part in the Battle for Atlantis tournament. This was the first round, the quarterfinal round in this non-conference tournament. And the Ramblers had a good showing. It was a back-and-forth game throughout the second half. The Ramblers were down 9-0 to start the game, then turned around and outscored Michigan State 28-14 the rest of the first half. It was back and forth in the second half, with both teams trading buckets back and forth. I wanted to get the right person here for Loyola. Sorry, while I pull up the list. Sorry. Braden Norris had back-to-back threes late in the second half to keep the Ramblers in it. And ultimately, Sparty won on an alley-oop dunk with 3 seconds to go in the game. So even though it's a loss, this is a positive showing from Loyola. No Porter Mosier. He's, of course, moved on. But still, Loyola is competitive. They are holding tough with one of the best teams in a major conference. Loyola last week announced that this will be its last season in the Missouri Valley Conference. Starting next season, they will move to the A10 or the Atlantic 10. So things are definitely looking up and continuing to move in the right direction for Loyola overall as a sports school. And it's great to see. It's fun to watch. All right, that is going to do it for our show tonight. I want to say thank you to our sponsors again, the Southern California Warriors and Background Check International. Be sure to check them out. Also, be sure to go check out the IE Sports Radio website. Of course, there's the link to our Patreon on there as well. Please, if you are able and interested, check that out and help us out. Just help keep the lights on and help keep the shows moving and going in the right direction. But there's all kinds of other cool stuff there, including we have our Fan of the Month polling beginning again next month. Congratulations to the Turban Patriot. He is our current Fan of the Month. If you pay attention to any of the 3-and-out primetime face-offs that involve the Patriots, you have definitely heard Turban Patriot. He is not only extremely knowledgeable about his favorite football team in New England, he knows all the other teams in the league as well. Be sure to stick around. Right after us is Marcus Losgreat doing Gloves Off. Not sure what he's got on the docket tonight, but I know that you will learn something from him, so be sure to stick around for him. Thank you to Larry for all the work he does here at the station, keeping everything going and running smoothly in the background. Thank you to Taryn for hanging out with me tonight in the chat room. Thank you to you guys for coming and listening week in and week out. I really do appreciate it. Everybody have a safe, warm, fun, loving Thanksgiving tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully we will be talking about a Bears victory next week and less dysfunction. Until then, I am Adam Karnick. Thank you again so much for hanging out. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving and have a great week.